we are live. What is up, everyone? I hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday. And without further ado, this is the Porunga Palace podcast. I am DJ Sketch, aka Chris, or not aka, I'm Chris, aka DJ Sketch from Porunga's Palace. And I host it's pretty much weekly, but I do 2 days a week. I do Wednesday and Sunday podcast, just recapping. It's supposed to be recapping what I do with my locals and how well I did, discussing what deck I played and how my matchups went and everything. But with the lack there of sanctioned events going on right now, I have not been able to do that. But this week in particularly, it's been kind of special because I was invited to join in on Mark Hill's podcast he does for DBS Decks, and he runs that over on Twitch. He live streams it to Twitch. So you should really check it out. It's twitch.tv/DBS Decks. But he invited me over there to do that because when he was like the first couple of days he was had it going. I was in the chat and I was under my Porunga Palace account. In the chat, and I was just pretty much interacting via chat, and then he sent me a link to his Discord and he invited me into it, and I was on it for like 2 or 3 days this week, and it was really it was really great time. I'm glad to be rubbing elbows with some prolific names in the community. Mark Hill, I think he's a bit. I don't think he gives himself enough credit as far as his brand for the game, because he has arguably like the number one website for the game right now. The only other one that I could say comes closer to that is maybe Shinron's Lair, and I think they kind of collab here and there. So either way, they're both good websites. They both offer different things as far as what the game. So you could pick which one you like. I personally use them both for different things, but I definitely have used DBS Decks more just because I knew about it before Shinron's Lair, to be perfectly honest. But either way, it was a fun time being invited over there to participate in discussions. We discussed last weekend's PBG online event decks that took top 8. We did a rundown of that, and I'm sure this coming week that's what he'll want to discuss again, because they had an event over this weekend as well. And so I'm sure we'll be discussing that. I don't know if we exactly know the details. I do know one deck, and it was Andrew Dovales or Duvals. I don't know how you say his name, but he took first place again this weekend. So, good on him. That's consistency right there. I don't know how many people were in this event. I could assume there was more because of the turnout. The last weekend's event, there's like 40 people, and that was like the very first one. So you could only assume that there's going to be more in the next one. So hopefully there is. I'm going to see if I could pull up the website and see over here at ppgeventsmanagement.com. We'll see if that here we go. We got some results here. Okay. Oh yeah, we do have results. Oh, it has them all, so we could actually break it down right now. Let's see if I can bring it up for you. There we go. if you're watching this via YouTube, you'll be able to see the deck list um, that I have. So yes, Andrew Dovell bringing it with the Search Coup, and from what I can tell, it was the same deck he won with last weekend. I haven't seen much changes. We could always check again. Let's see here. Let's go to this one. The one. No, it looks like he went with the same thing for the most part. But I can actually just open up a new tab. And we'll go to this weekend and we can do a comparison. It looks like he did change up his sideboard a bit. From the looks of it. Yeah, I'm not. The main board looks pretty much identical. So the main board is definitely identical. He changed his sideboard up though, because in the March 28th and 29th, he has like Final Guardian and After Image. And this one he went with stayed with after Final Guardian, but he went with Time Magic, and he took out this yellow extra card that I can't read, and I don't know what it is. And he looks like he took that out. He kept the Jirens. He put in 2 more of this baby extra card. It looks like, or no, battle the bat. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I know what it does. And he kept in Frost Deadly Poisons. He kept the Aboonies. So it looks like he just switched up some negates and stuff, but you know, still solid main board deck list. It's really solid. And he's obviously a tremendous pilot of the deck because he was able to win back-to-back championships. And it looks like the second place for this past weekend was Angel Santiago, taking second place with Jiren, big thick boy Jiren. And, this looks pretty typical for the most part. I like the addition of this, the light bullet. And, this thing can just bring out big boy monsters. It can be really mid-range, and it can also be kind of a control deck as well. So this deck has a lot going for it as well. Right now, arguably, Jiren is the best yellow leader at the moment, in my opinion. But, Universe 11 Jiren, really good deck right now. And we got, that guy's just top 4. So I'm guessing he took 3rd? Or maybe they said 1st and 2nd. So there might have been less people, actually, this one. But, wow. Yanni, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that last name because I will butcher the heck out of it because I'm not very good with names in general. But he was playing Cooler, red-blue Cooler. He was running the new SSB 3-drop from the draft box in this. It looks like pretty much a mid-range red yellow deck, or not red yellow, red blue deck, excuse me. But surprisingly, okay, so that he was okay. Well, at first I didn't think he was running the Cooler in the main deck, but he is. It's in the main deck. I thought it was in the sideboard. I was just looking at this wrong. But he has an interesting sideboard here. He has Remote Serious Bomb in the sideboard. Absolute Ball. No, that's Dirty Ball. Excuse me. He's got this, looks like a blue Frieza card. It looks like it's from the Dropbox. I can't really tell what it is at this point in time. But you know, it's really solid. This is a real solid, in my opinion, mid-range deck. Um, that has like, it has the opportunity to mill your deck, your opponent out, as well as doing like a substantial amount of damage to him as well. So you're kind of putting pressure on two fronts there. Solid deck. Um, Arguably probably one of the best red leaders right now. As far as like a non-surge leader, it's arguably one of the best, just solid red leaders right now. And then we have Daniel Lungaro. I hope that's how I say that. He took top 4 as well with Surge Piccolo, and it looks like it was hand control or hand construction Piccolo, Surge Piccolo, which I love this version of this deck. It's probably my favorite version of Surge Piccolo. I don't really like the green, blue, yellow version because I feel like you run into consistency problems. This deck, since it's only running 2 colors, you don't have to worry about that as much. And I just like hand control in general because, like, obviously I do because my budget, the budget deck I was going to be running and to bring to the podcast on how I was doing with was Android 13, and it's basically hand control as well. Not as good as hand control as this deck can bring, but again, I was going with a budget version. But if I were gonna up the ante and like evolve into a deck, this is what I would turn to: is Surge Piccolo hand control. And you know, running this Ribrianna, the 2-drop, is like it's such a great card and a great addition to this deck. And of course, the Vegeta SCR, like the best SCR arguably for these colors. Just a real solid, solid deck. Real solid deck. Um, Definitely, if you have the funds to pick up the expensive cards for this deck, I would do it. Definitely. And I love this spice in here. This Android 13 art. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I like that spice added in the sideboard. Oh, and then we have. Okay, so they don't have all the decks up here yet. Okay, but it looks like Butters was entered into this and took a top 8 slot. I'm sure everyone in the community knows Butters. He took Surge Coup into this, and it looks like he was running blue, yellow, blue. Yeah, yellow, blue. Oh no, red, yellow, blue. Surge Coup. Excuse me. He was running the coolers in the main board, as well as the Frieza at 100%. And he was running some spice here because he had the 7 drop yellow to that EX evolves. And I love the Smoke Dragon in this as well. Smoke Dragon is like probably one of the best SCRs right now that just is like, it's underplayed and it's kind of underpriced because it's just solid all around. And I can't believe it's not more than what it is. But Butters, he is an awesome pilot as well, and he also plays like really unique decks, like, and they may not be unique as far as what leaders and what like some of the staple cards in, but he adds a spice to the decks that is unique, and that's something that you just don't see a lot of. So, and it's really innovative. So this is a solid deck list as well, and I love the spicy added to it. Looks like Gabriel was in this one as well. Roberto Canteras, He was in this as well. They just don't have their deck list up. And then Robert Reedsey playing Brawly Surge, and it looks like he he threw in some blue into this, so he was playing green, red, blue. Pretty spicy. Um, Robert, I like Robert as much slack as he has gotten in the past few months. He's really stepped his game up in the game, and obviously because he was invited to be on the PPG team, he's been recognized for that. But I was paying attention to him when he was just playing Pan and really wrecking house with Pan. And I like his type of decks he builds, and I like his variants of Brawly Surge he's brought to the game. And so right now he might be arguably the best Brawly Surge pilot out there. That's just arguably. And I only say that because I haven't seen too many people playing it, and any person I have seen playing it, 9 times out of 10, it's been him that's had it in a top 8. That has brought it to top 8. So this is a really different take because most people are just running the 2 colors, but it looks like he wanted to bring some blue into here for Senzu Beans, and looks like maybe just to run the cooler and the freezes, which isn't a bad thing. Again, this is like definitely a mid-rangey type of deck in my opinion. It can be somewhat aggro, but in my opinion, it's more of a mid-range aggro deck. But pretty solid. He took top 8 with it, so you can't say that it can't do some work. But I'm sure, again, we will be covering these more extensively in the DBS Decks podcast that Mark is going to be running this coming week. And so be sure you tune into that for a bigger in-depth into that. Because they break it down like 2 decks every night, whereas I'm just kind of giving a brief rundown. I'm sure in my next podcast I'll be covering the 2 that I couldn't today that aren't up. But, again, Andrew Dovell taking this one, and, and I'm glad that these type of events are happening. We're going to switch over to the main podcast screen now if you're watching on YouTube. But yeah, this is really bringing the community together, having some events pop off over the weekends. That way, the game doesn't feel like it's getting stale with nothing out there. At least we're able to someone's able to bring something in this time of crisis, and where we can't go and play actual paper events. We have to do online events, and I really hope Bandai is paying attention to this, and maybe they'll be in the thoughts of bringing in their own online type of platform, because right now more than ever it would be needed. Now not to say that if they were to do it now and it comes out in like 6 months to a year, it might not take off, but personally, I think it would definitely be able to, because not a lot of people from what I've seen don't even have like locals, because their locals don't have enough people interested in the card game. So that would give them incentive to make one, and then I could see it turning a profit for them. Again, I don't know the full details of how much that would cost and all that, and having people run it. Mark Hill has kind of explained it in his weekly podcast that it would kind of be hard to do, but if it is hard to do, then maybe it wouldn't be worth it. But I think it could be worth it if it's done right, of course. And that's all, and that's what it comes down to. It has to be done right. Um, but I think, and if you can't tell, if you're watching this on YouTube, again, because I do simulcast, I record audio and video for this podcast. That way I can upload it to YouTube, and I upload it to the audio portions for the podcast over on Anchor.fm, and that gets distributed out via them to like Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, and all that. But if you've been watching on YouTube, I've had my mics, like I had a mic arm, of a boom arm for my mic, and it like just totally gave out on me. I have to get it. Actually, I need to replace it, but for the time being, I'm gonna actually try to fix it myself just by going to a hardware store and finding the type of screws and bolts I need for it to fix it. Because I can order one off Amazon, but if I do that, it's gonna take like 2 weeks well, actually longer than 2 weeks to get to me. So I'm having to kind of uh I'm uh having to come up with some ways to kind of not have to do that. That way I can still do the podcast. I had to uh I do have a temporary mic stand, though. It's a one that just sits on the desk here, and I have it screwed on with the shock mount. But I bought this at a local music store we have here, and you know, which I totally spaced. We had a local music store. They don't have like the boom arms and stuff that I have, but I'm glad they were able to have this. This like saved the podcast essentially, because I was gonna have nothing to mount my mic on to to do this. So I'm glad they were in town. Hopefully, I get the other boom arm fixed, and that way it's more for my comfort than anything to have it, because I can sit back in my chair and I can move the mic to myself. Whereas I'm kind of having to be a certain distance right now with this one, mounting my mic onto it and having to stay a certain distance. So it's more for my comfort, and I think aesthetically it looks better on a video than having to be right here. But shout outs to that music store. They're called Quattlebaum Music. They're local in my area of Searcy, Arkansas. So shout outs to them. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I want to thank everyone who has listened or watched the podcast, listened on the audio platforms, and have watched on YouTube. It's been greatly appreciated. Make sure you follow me on my social medias, Facebook, Twitter at Porunga P on Twitter, and Facebook it's just Porunga's Palace. And you can look me up on Twitch, Porunga Palace on Twitch. And be sure you check out my affiliate link for nerdordie.com. They're doing a massive spring sale right now. You can get 50% off. I will leave a link in the descriptions of both the audio format and this video format for YouTube, being link in the descriptions. So be sure you check that out. You really can't beat it right now. You can get great overlays for 50% off. And their price, and let me tell you, their prices are arguably the best even when they're not on sale, because you're going to spend like $20 to $30 without the 50% off and get what you see. Like the overlay I have right now, if you're watching via YouTube, this is the type of overlay you're going to get. It's going to be fully animated, and there's, you saw the transition screen. It's just they're all beautiful, and you get that for like $30, and that's a great deal in itself. Because like if you go to a a freelance artist, they'll probably charge you more just for doing those animations for them. So if you go to nerderdie.com, you're going to be saving yourself some money. Plus, with the spring 50% off sale they have right now, you're going to be spending only half of that. So either way, you're getting a great deal. So be sure you check them out, nerderdie.com. And again, no more plugs. I've plugged that enough as it is. But again, we will see you in the next episode of the podcast, which will be this Wednesday. So be sure you follow the social medias, know when those are uploaded, and we will see you on Wednesday. Take care and have a good rest of your Sunday.